The Laws of Human Nature is the best self-improvement book I've read, and it's quite possibly the best book I've read in the last 9 years. And let me explain, because this is quite a controversial statement, but after watching this video, we will explain why I believe this and why this is a book that you must read. Now, if you're watching this, you're most likely how I am in terms of you want to be the best version of yourself, but you're still discovering how do you do that. Being the best you is not an easy task at all. And by watching these type of videos, I already know that you're on the right path because you're trying. And that first step is definitely trying. You can claim you want to be the best person in the world, you want to be a successful businessman, but if you never open your first business, how are you supposed to do that? If you never learn, how are you supposed to do that? So by even watching these videos, I can tell that you're trying to create that change in you, and I'm very proud of you. But this is exactly where I was. And I remember last year, I went on vacation with my friends, and I came back realizing that I am wasting my potential. Now, I went to the Dominican Republic, and I was on a resort. It was a very fun trip. But when I'm talking to a lot of these women here, most of them were from the same country as me, but their methods of making money were so different than me. It was all their own businesses in their own way. Or they did nails, or they did lashes, or whatever. But they were running their own businesses. And I looked at it, and as the way that I am, I want to make sure that when I'm in a relationship, I'm a leader as well. So I looked at it, I'm like, oh, I'll waste my potential because I need to become a businessman. I need to be in control of my own businesses. So a little side note, I'm actually editing right now, as you can see. But I feel like I explained this part poorly. What I meant to say was really that when I'm there and I'm talking to these women, these are a higher caliber of women. I'm truly intrigued by them, way more than just my hometown girls, you know what I mean? But then I'm finding out that they're from the same country as me. So obviously they exist in my home country, but I'm not seeing them, right? And what I'm really realizing is these are women who are able to achieve way more in their lives because of their businesses. And because of that, they're not going to go out to the club. They're not in bars. Instead, they're in different countries, traveling, having fun. And this actually intrigued me way more. These are the type of people I'm attracted to, but even more so, if I want to attract these type of people to me, even in my own city, I need to level up. You know what I mean? So that's really something that I took away from this trip. And overall, just seeing so many people who were able to achieve this made it so much more real to me. When you only know like 1 or 2 people who's done it, it's a little, but everybody I'm talking to, essentially, when I'm there, it's like, that's how they've achieved their money. That's how they're able to live this lifestyle. And that's something that I wanted to achieve. And the reason that a lot of these people are around the same age as me and able to achieve this, that doesn't motivate you. I don't know what will. So this realization of how many people are really making money through their own businesses was something that was very eye-opening to me. And as I'm learning how to do this, I'm realizing that I have these horrible habits that I need to break, that I have habits that I need to build up. And the one habit that I always saw that every successful person had was reading. And at this point, I'm going to be honest with you, I had not finished a book in years, probably since grade 9 or grade 8. So around 2015, which is why I say 9 years. Now, I used to be the biggest reader in the world. In fact, if you look at my bookmark right here, you will see that it is a Rick Riordan from The Blood of Olympus, which is the last book in his series, The Heroes of Olympus. So you have the Percy Jackson and then a continuation of that. So essentially that's 10 books in the whole series. And I remember I used to run from these books in one weekend, but for some reason, once I got to high school, I stopped reading as much. It just wasn't cool, you know what I mean? So even though I was a really big reader as a kid, over time I stopped reading. And when you're not doing something, you kind of have it in the back of your mind that I should do this, but I wasn't. And so I would start books, but I would never finish them. Yet, once I had this realization that I wanted to be a better version of myself, I knew that I had no choice. I had to read more books. But if I'm being honest with you, in the past, I was mostly just into fiction books. Yeah, I knew that if I wanted to truly level up, I needed books that were important to who I'm trying to become. So I knew I had to read specific types of books, which is why I gave myself the goal of reading more self-improvement type books, books that I knew I would get something out of it. And so one thing that I really challenged myself with was reading at least 10 pages a day, which I do easily now. I'll wake up, and it's the first thing I do, because I know that it's also good to not look at your phone for those first 30 minutes. So by reading the first 30 minutes of the day, I'm able to avoid my phone, which in turn just helps me be way more productive throughout the rest of the day. And again, like I mentioned, I mainly just read self-improvement books. So when I finished that first book, it was such an accomplishment because I've started books, obviously, for this time span, but I haven't finished them. So when I finished the first book, it felt amazing. And that book was good, but I didn't leave it with the feeling of, oh, I know what I have to work on, or I'm a better person now, you know what I mean? I just felt happy that I finished a book, but other than that, didn't really feel much. And I read a few more books, same thing, good books, We learn a little bit, I guess, but overall unchanged. And that's where this book comes in, The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. The reason why I think this is such a good self-improvement book is that it's truly a self-reflection book. When you're reading this, he's going to point out a lot of bad behaviors. And if you're honest with yourself, you're going to be able to recognize it in you. Like when he's talking about their ego, and when he's also talking about confronting that dark side of yourself. A lot of people may read these sections and think this has nothing to do with me. But when I'm reading this, I'm noticing what portions of this me. You know what I mean? I'm realizing that, hey, this is actually something I need to improve on because this is how it can destroy me. And that really is another part of why this book is so good. And it's that he starts every single chapter with a real life example. And in these examples, he shows how someone was either able to use these laws to improve themselves, or these laws are the reasons why they failed. And this is exactly what I've been looking for in truly seeing the habits of successful people, but also the things that have made them fail and the things that have made them succeed. And so when you read this, you're better able to note those things in yourself that you actually do have to improve on. And again, as I mentioned, it's like every single one of the laws that he breaks down. And even if you think a lot isn't useful to you, and you still leave this book with good examples for when you're just telling a story. For example, in one part, he's talking about Michael Eisner and how his need to control everything is really what took him down. Another example is when he's talking about Coco Chanel. Now I know the story of this person. And so now I've been talking to a girl. She mentions Chanel as being one of her favorite type of bags or one of her favorite fragrances. And so I think, hey, did you know that Chanel was able to grow because she was really a revolutionary who saw that, hey, Americans like to be more comfortable in their way that they dress, whereas Europeans is way more, elegant and all that. And so she was able to use that to her advantage. So just those things of how you get to understand people a lot better were things that I really took away from this book. This is something that I can bring up in conversation, which is obviously useful, as it's going to help you understand a lot more about the world, but also seem more intellectual. And like I mentioned, his writing style is really good as you start with an example, and then he breaks down why this is so important, and then shows you exactly how this might play out on you or in other people. So it's more things that you can look at in people, but also look at in yourself. And he breaks down why you need to improve on it, why this is important, and what to do about it. And the other thing that I found was really useful about this book was in the way he broke down your own dark nature. I think for a lot of us, your own dark nature and your ego, I think for a lot of us, we try to limit a certain portion of ourselves. And what I mean by this is we have these lofty goals, but we feel kind of crazy saying it because we feel like we seem very, very ego-driven if we say it. Or people are going to think that we're a little crazy, or damn, this person thinks a lot of themselves. And because we essentially stop ourselves from trying to achieve these goals. But when you read these books, you see how not trying to achieve the things that you have in your head can really destroy you. It can play a big toll on your emotions. It can play a big toll on your life and your relations. And really just how trying to be anybody else but yourself is going to destroy you. And honestly, I think that was the biggest lesson this book taught me. And to be honest with you, this is a book that I've had in my room for a while. I bought it years ago, telling myself I need to read this. And I didn't read it until I really came to the, okay, I'm reading 10 pages a day idea, right? And this is truly a good read. I think, honestly, the next book I'm about to read is The Alchemist. And after this, it'll probably be the 48 Laws of Power. But honestly, Robert Greene's writing style is very useful. So I'm more excited for The Laws of Power, though I have heard good things about The Alchemist. So yeah, and so this is why The Laws of Human Nature is the best self-improvement book that I have read. And honestly, I really recommend that you guys try to pick up reading as a habit. And this is a really good start. So hopefully you guys enjoy. See you in the next one.